Well, hello there, everyone. Like have right here, you're welcome back for the Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, and talking about, for helicopter, it's like you're flying, being able to fly a helicopter though, and talking about, for if it goes by as to where, yeah, the written manual. But I know that during the time that I was playing this game, that the police. Yeah, a lot of times the police helicopter during the gameplay of GTA 3, that the helicopter pilot would say stuff like, yeah, yeah, that, yeah, it would say something like, like you are surrounded, or yeah, that something like that, yeah, like put your hands in the air right now or something, and then like please stop right now, like so yeah, and then it would say like, have you got written mail for this thing? But we talk about, say, with the helicopter right here, and showing right here of talking about with it, it's like that, yeah, being able to climb a rope, from on a helicopter. But these right here, that these men that I went and drew right here, added in some Photoshop details right here, will look like a little bit like FBI agents. So yeah, that during gameplay, that let's just say that whenever you first started playing the game and start messing around, and then that maybe that you would have it to where you get a number of stars, and then that helicopter chases you, and you're likely warned to where that the first thing that you may notice is to where that, yeah, that you're zooming into the cockpit and find out about, when say where's the pilot. Well, you can fly one of those things, fly one of those helicopters. But I noticed too that whenever I was doing some of my Photoshop work right here, is that some of these men, these men would look like, FBI, agents, and I know that, one of them even looks a little bit female. You got right there is that, that female right there is like those ladies, inside the helicopter right there. Go ahead and draw a little bit of the nose right there. So yeah, they have right there is, if it looks a little bit like FBI, and I say, yeah, that the source of a FBI look, and I'm like, yeah. But so far as the pilots go, is to where that whenever you first play the game of Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, that you're also thinking too necessarily to where that whenever you're able to yeah, during the gameplay, that you're able to mess around and do a number of things like, yeah, that for during the gameplay, and say for for vigilante, and talk about for FBI, and but it's still that with these characters, yeah, I know that and some of them look female, and some of them that even look like alien type character figures here. But still though, that they're talking about the helicopter pilots on the game, during Grand Theft Auto on Vice City. And you're also wondering too as to where that talk about for a written manual. And I went ahead and put this together right here. This was right here was talking about getting our way around the city, like press X. So whenever the game was first introduced, that I looked at the instructions, and I remember that the first thing that they're going to mention is to where that you're going to go and be able to fly a helicopter during gameplay. So I know whenever I first started, whenever I first got this game and I started playing it, I can remember that to where that not really the taxi cabs, or maybe the bars or anything like that, or maybe the game place where you can play games or so, just for extra money or whichever you call it, or for the police cars, but it was for the helicopters. So it's like, yeah, that during the game of Grand Theft Auto Vice City, that I can remember that I was looking around, for the helicopters, to where can you find a helicopter? And I know that if I say that, yeah, that whenever you first see a helicopter, then you would notice that during the level 3 felony, it was that you would be able to see one of those helicopters flying in the air. And just think about it, to where you zoom into the and zoom in with the sniper rifle to the telescopic sight and find out that the cockpit is empty, and then like I say, the ways of how to climb up the rope. But also talk about a written manual. So say that, written manual, and so I know my dad and I made a joke a lot of times about it's like, you got written manual for this thing. But talk about right here is the game controller right here, and we can see that right there. You got the triangle, and you got the game controller right here. And just think about it, to where that whenever you're going to be playing a video game using that kind of game controller, that you know that yeah, during gameplay that it's quite different than compared to actually flying a helicopter. But still, though, that with whenever that game was first in whenever this game was first announced, I can remember that to where that there was like strategy guides that came along with the game as well that would explain about how to be able to fly a helicopter, and yeah, so I know that that a lot of time anybody who's going to be buying the game will maybe want to where that oh, you can fly helicopters, and so yeah, they want to try to get a helicopter, and just thinking necessarily to where that that with the helicopters, though, that I remember that I stole one or two, I'm like, yeah, you can actually steal them in the air, and I know that's pretty tricky too about how to climb up the rope and steal the helicopters in the air. But I tell you one thing though, that during the gameplay though, that my dad and I were always wondering too, as to where that why is it that we could not see the helicopter pilot when they were zooming into a telescopic sight with the sniper rifle. So let's just say that this right here was supposed to be an example right here of a pilot right here. So this right here, yeah, the telescopic sight right here with the pilot, and you have right here's the spotlight right here. So yeah, that this right here, yeah, that we know that flying a helicopter during the gameplay that you're not going to get a real clear focus on about as to where that looks so easy to where you can just climb up the rope and climb up into the helicopter, or ways of how you were able to get into a helicopter. And I know sometimes during gameplay, yeah, if you were to try to take off with the helicopter from the ground and try to go up into the air before before you getting busted or anything like that, like during gameplay that you mess around with the police, and so yeah, other things that 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 you tried, and but still, that think about right here with these pilots right here. That the way I painted this, worked this right here using Photoshop though. That I want to kind of give them like say a little bit more of your black suit, and then just kind of draw in the face a little bit more of the face, and then the sunglasses right there. So let's just say if there was like radio communication or something like that inside the helicopter. So during the gameplay though, during the gameplay that there would be like you would be able to hear the police commanders like what they announce as to where that about that, vigilante, whenever you're going to be in a helicopter or in a police car, that you'll be able to catch criminals, right? You'll be able to catch criminals. But the way I think about it too is that, that you had the police helicopter, and, but, still, just think as to where that, that, the way the graphics were made is to where they allowed to where you can be able to see inside the helicopter. But also is like, yeah, that you've got a written manual for this thing. but really though, with the helicopter though, that I just really think also is to where during the gameplay that they'll say is to where that that whenever you go further in the game, and then you would be able to have that capability to where you can fly the helicopter, and then have that capability to where you can go ahead and enter in the different islands. And I know like Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 that there are certain areas of the game, certain areas of the map, I should say, that you were not able to go to, and say until you completed a mission, until you were able to do certain stunts. It's like that certain missions or so of the game. But the way I think about it too is that that whenever you're going to be during gameplay, and some of those missions are pretty hard too. Some of those missions are pretty hard. And so that's why that if anybody say that you're going to go ahead and just maybe mess around, but the next question could also go by as to where that I wonder if there's any money inside the helicopter. Yeah, anything anything about what you call during gameplay, if there's any weapons or like anything about money, or like anything else that you think that would be inside the helicopter. But being able to fly a helicopter, which I thought that was pretty fun during gameplay, being able to fly a helicopter. And I know if anybody will want to where it that with so far as that being able to ride in the subway, and then being able to ride it the metros, like that during Vice City, that I guess a lot of that was taken out, but then and then whenever Grand Theft Auto 4 came out, but and then San Andreas, but during a lot of times of Rockstar games though that whenever they're going to be developing a game, that you notice quite a few new things, and a few these new things are going to be like that being able to fly a helicopter and be able to ride motorcycles around the city and all that. But also that, like, say, during that game mode to where you can play with other players. So I say multiplayer. I guess the multiplayer mode is how you pronounce it. But still, though, that being able to have maybe 2 or 3 players, and I guess nowadays that they have that online where you can play with other players, online, and so it's just a thing that. Whenever you're playing with other players, and sometimes these other players could be, located maybe out of state or maybe even out of the country, and so just think about it to where that, how many of us are going to maybe warrant to where that during the gameplay that they're going to want to know how you say, put your hands up in Chinese or something like that, or, put down your weapon, put your hands in. So yeah, that, other ways of how we can describe, during gameplay that, things that you're doing, during gameplay that, if it's going to be maybe, if you can maybe translate that to maybe to a different language or some sort. But I'll tell you one thing though, that, during the gameplay of Grand Theft Auto, I've had, certain hours of being a vigilante, being a policeman, and then, of course, doing taxi rides. But I was also wondering, too, how come Mail Carrier never made it to the game? I was wondering that, too, to where that, I guess nowadays with, like, Grand Theft Auto 5, that if they have Mail Carrier, to where you can deliver letters and packages or some sort, but, you do a variety of other jobs. But still, flying a helicopter, though, that whenever you're zooming into a telescopic sight with the sniper rifle, and then you can hear that the pilot saying something like, this is the VCPD, stop right now, and you can also that if anybody say that there could be a number of reasons to why I say during gameplay that certain things that did not include and I'm like that. If anybody wanted to where that whenever you first see that the helicopter coming at you and then want to know about the first thing that you're gonna maybe do is try to shoot the helicopter out of the air, or you're gonna try to steal it. And how many of us can maybe say that the first thing you try to do is try shooting the helicopter out of the air? And you say that how many of us will maybe say you're gonna go and try to steal it? So yeah, that during the game of Grand Theft Auto, it seems like to where the first idea that you're going to maybe come up with during gameplay is going to be about how to steal. And during the game is like you're basically playing a criminal guy to where you are basically going to learn how to steal, helicopters and planes and cars and motorcycles. But still though, that how many of us have really made it that far during the gameplay to where they're able to learn how to climb up the rope and steal the helicopter? And so yeah, that whenever I first bought the game, I can probably say that that there was a lot of rough challenges. I know with Rockstar Games that add as much detail as they could during the gameplay, but all the challenges during that gameplay was all buzzed to where that that a lot of times people were asking, how do you get a helicopter? So you fly a helicopter around, and that I could probably say that I had a lot of fun, with the helicopter, and that they say you'd a couple of the not the police helicopters, but a couple of the helicopters that they would have the radio that you can listen to the radio too, and I can remember some of the. Emotion. I guess the Emotion was the name of the radio station on the game, to where you can listen to classical love music. So I can remember that flying around the city, finding those hidden packages. How many of us spent a lot of time trying to find the hidden packages using the helicopter? Yeah, you can find them on top of buildings, and you can even find them on the beach, but still that the hidden packages, and I don't know how many of us who played at GTA, Vice City, how many of us can really remember how long it took to be able to find all 100 packages. And I wonder if Grand Theft Auto 5 does about the same thing, to where that they allow it to where that the hidden packages, about each package that you find, it's worth about maybe $150, and so you earn money, during gameplay. But still, that with the whole, during the whole gameplay though that they have right here is talking about, it's like you fly in a helicopter, and you're able to look around the city, and maybe land on building. You can land on buildings and look for packages. But I tell you one thing though, that learning to fly a helicopter, which reading on the instructions too. But yeah, that I can remember, during the gameplay that there were some restricted areas, especially at the airbase. I'm like, yeah, if you go try flying to the airport, or maybe try flying to certain areas of the game, during around the city, then there would be like restricted areas to where we can fly an aircraft. But I'm like, yeah, that if you were to be learn how to fly a helicopter and then maybe land it maybe in front of maybe in front of the motel building, or maybe in the backyard of the condo area. If you buy a condo during gameplay, or if you are gonna, be a ocean view apartment or something like that, or maybe if it's a stairway or somewhere like that, during the game, that you're gonna be buying a property, during gameplay, that you're gonna go ahead and land a helicopter somewhere. So it's like, just think as to where, yeah. By the time you got a helicopter, then you were able to fly the helicopter around the city just to be able to complete some of the missions. So you're just thinking as to where that some, they say the cheat codes are, you can't use cheat codes just to get a 100%, during gameplay. But I tell you what, they know that, there were some, like flying a helicopter, and maybe, they got, I guess, the new, Vice City stores where you can, ride the jet skis, but certain things that they say that, that being able to fly a helicopter around the city, even just to be able to complete a mission, you're likely wanted to where that you'll be able to fly a helicopter. And then, I can remember that. One of the helicopters that I can remember I was able to keep, whenever I was flying it around the city, I can remember there was enough room for about 3 other people. And during the mission that flew to the mall, it was I think it was that Capitol Mall, the Vice City Capitol Mall, and like, something, something mall, flew to the mall, that it was to complete a mission. But I can remember that, you'll get to the mall within about, 2 or 3 minutes time, and you're able to complete a mission, but still, that and say that, whenever you learn how to fly a helicopter, and you're going to use that, just to be able to complete some of the missions. And but just think about as to where that with the helicopter, even during level 5 felony, that I'm like, I guess you could say that flying the helicopter was one of the most popular of during gameplay, because it was like, whenever the times that when we played Grand Theft Auto 2 and Grand Theft Auto 3, that I guess what was the most popular, I guess it was the tank that was the most popular during gameplay, or it could have been maybe the Yakuza Sting, I'm like, one of those sports cars, or it may have been a Ranger or something like that, one of those high-tech Jeep, cars, ones with the good four-wheel drive on it. But so we might have our favorite cars and trucks that we played during gameplay, especially during Grand Theft Auto 3 and Grand Theft Auto 5. I say played, you were able to drive different vehicles and have a variety of different bikes and different cars, and etc. But the way I think about too, that during the gameplay though, that I just really thought too, is to where if there's any Easter eggs, that is to where during gameplay that you're noticing a few things that you thought they were kind of silly looking, but still that talk about a written manual, written manual, as I say, is to where that to help you getting your way around the city, just press X on the controller. But I tell you one thing though, that if anybody or wanted to, if you were to be, during the gameplay, it could be other games too, which, with other games that during gameplay, that if you never played it before and somebody hands you the controller and, they want you to play, somebody asks you to play a game with them, but then they hand you the controller and they tell you to press the triangle or the square, or that that there's two analog sticks on the bottom. So yeah, that maybe if you grew up maybe playing the Atari game system, or maybe if you grew up just playing Nintendo, and then somebody was showing you how to play the Sony PlayStation, for the Rockstar Games Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and they're gonna say that okay, go ahead and push this button just to be able to do this action, and so yeah, that so we know that nowadays that they have more than just two players, and I know I checked it out, but if you're going to be playing with somebody online, that there's I think allowed up to maybe 11 or maybe up to 15 players, and like we weren't to where that okay, well, how do you climb up the rope, just to be able to take the helicopter? So yeah, I know that I had quite a bit of fun with the game, during gameplay, but my dad and I were just like kind of wondering too, as to where that you play the game during gameplay, they were like wondering to where that you would expect to where you could see geese in the sky, geese in the sky during the gameplay. During gameplay, that we expected maybe see some geese in the sky. Geese, like the type of birds. But still, you've seen some of those during the gameplay of Vice City, but but still, that you see any sorts of wildlife in the sky, and you're likely wondering to where that yeah, I don't know about duck hunting or anything like that in the game, but if I can remember right, that when I would fly a helicopter in the sky, a lot of times I can remember that to where that I would also notice is to where that there would be like a plane that would be flying around with the sign on the back of it, one of those seaplanes or something like that, and some you might see some wildlife in the sky as well. You got right there is geese, yeah, yep. That's supposed to be an example right there of geese, but yeah, I'm like it looks like. It looks like to me like anything. I say that if it's a wildlife object, or if it's supposed to be what you call just a low kite-looking thing in the sky, but things that you will be able to see with the sniper rifle. But you have right here, these pilots right here, and let's just say that with the pilots, to kind of make them look like FBI guys, flying the helicopter in there. And you're likely warned to where that whenever zooming into a telescopic sight with the sniper rifle, and you're likely warned, I'm like, yeah, what does that usually mean whenever you hear I'm saying something like, you got to read me over this thing? So yeah, during gameplay, that it seems like that they're going to say stuff like, you were surrounded, you hear me? Like this is the VCPD, stop right now. This is the VCPD, stop right now. Put your weapon, put your weapon down and surrender. But I also keep wondering too, is to where during gameplay, maybe if you can change a little bit of the lyrics, as to where if you're gonna have be doing something during gameplay, maybe if it's during those missions allow you to rob a bank or maybe steal cars or something, and then they have the police chopper chasing you, maybe during a mission. Yeah, maybe during the mission, and you're going to see certain things, during the mission mode, and you might see some things, but still, that during gameplay though, that maybe that if you can't see everything, all the details that maybe you expect to see off of your sniper rifle, then it's possible you might see it during the gameplay. During the gameplay, that you would see some of the pilots and maybe some of the spotlights, and it's changing colors or something like that. So really, that whenever you're going to be playing a game like Grand Theft Auto, that I guess there are some if you want to call it like some certain situations where in order to be able to play the game, you play the game to where you can actually see something, or just to be able to enjoy during gameplay. I guess you say is to where for what is really recommended, what is required during the gameplay, during the missions, and compared to just messing around. So you say, yeah, you got the cheat codes and all that just to mess around, but I say that no, it's like, really, are you really breaking the rules during the gameplay? Yeah, if you're just like those computer games, if it's going to be Wolfenstein or Duke Nukem, that if you're going to be playing the game like Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and using the cheat codes that sometimes during the gameplay that they're going to say that yeah, if your score is so much during gameplay, then they say that you are too good to cheat or something like that. So yeah, that they say it's not good to cheat during the gameplay, but on the other hand too, it seems like if the pilot was given a written manual, then wouldn't that be called cheating? Really, I'm like, wouldn't that be called cheating if the pilot had a written manual for the helicopter, whichever he was talking about? Wouldn't that be called cheating? But let's just say though that like I say, having any source of basic training. But talk about say with the FBI right here. I'm like FBI or if it's the VCPD, but you're zooming into the helicopter, and the thing is to where that, yeah, how come we can't see the guy in the helicopter when they're zooming into a telescope with the sniper rifle? Like, well, if you play the game even further, then maybe you will be able to see a little bit more realistic graphical, more graphics and more detail, during the game, because, I guess you say that, during the gameplay, that, to be able to complete the missions, and maybe you'll understand a little bit more of the story, but I know sometimes though that during gameplay there's like a story that goes along with the game. But sometimes though, if anybody say some of them really make any sense, or that the missions, the mission wasn't as long, or if you got at least some enjoyment out of the game. But still though that yeah, that being able to fly a helicopter around the city though, I mean, I thought that was pretty neat, just to be able to do that, because I know that whenever I first was introduced to the game, and just like Warren, I'm like, yeah, you can, steal cars and maybe do side jobs and stuff like that. But so if anybody were to say that whenever you were first introduced to the Sony PlayStation 2, and maybe one of the first games that you had gotten was Grand Theft Auto, I'm like, yeah, I've had other games that I have bought too. I'm like, I bought sports games and other games too, racing games, but I would probably say that, Grand Theft Auto was one of my favorites. And just thinking as toward it, during the gameplay, that they say is toward it, really, what's all the whole purpose about the important reasons of the game? And so they say, if I'm going to be an artist, and I'm going to go ahead and draw in all the detail right there, and likely one or two is toward it's something really to remember by. And as I say, if you can go ahead and create your own pilot, what do you think he would look like? He or she would look like. So it's like I say, is they have right there, it's the pilots right here. But this drawing right here, I'm like, yeah, it's the original drawing, but this was before I had a computer. So if anybody were wanting to where it it does look a little bit less 3D or 2D looking. It don't really look all that great. But just to share it with everybody here, this is what the helicopter drawing looks like right here with the pilots included. So I just think as to where that whenever you're going to be playing a game like Grand Theft Auto during gameplay, that you're just like one or two is to where that that the reason to why, but the reason why that you don't you can't get this, or I'm like, so yeah, that during the gameplay, though, that I can remember that I spent a lot of time trying to look for a helicopter, and by the time I found one, and so it was like, yeah, that during that gameplay, during vigilante mode, that it was just like, yeah, that maybe you're going to ask the questions, but one of those questions is going to be like, as to where during gameplay, it's, the basic mission is to train you, like, yeah, to be able to fly a helicopter. Well, you're going to need to beat the mission. You're going to need to be able to do the work. There's play the game. To do the missions. Just to be able to fly the helicopter, and just to be able to do all the other source of skills and all that. But other than that, like you say, talk about for enjoyment of the gameplay, huh? All about the fun excitement about to talk about for Grand Theft Auto, Rockstar Games. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.